Okay, today we are doing a very important chapter. For those of you who are taking CUET or IPMAT, any of those exams, most exams, they test figures of speech in some way or the other. Figures of speech, or what we also know as literary devices. In CBSE also this is covered. When you're doing poem analysis, when the teacher explains you what literary devices, what similes, metaphors, personification, alliteration, etc. is used in the poems, you will have to identify the same when you're analyzing poems, poem comprehension. There, your knowledge of literary devices is important because the analysis is not given to you. You are supposed to look for them, right? And otherwise also there are standalone questions on literary devices in CUET where they test your knowledge. Figures of speech hai kya, and why do we study this? Who can tell me? What is figures of speech? बचपन से पढ़ते आ रहे हैं ना, है क्या? See, we watch videos. Videos are very appealing because there are moving images, there's sound. That wasn't there a century ago, 2 centuries ago. People have been writing and reading for many, many hundreds of years. These are tools that make our writing powerful. These are tools that make the writing come alive. I remember when I was a child, everyone would say, now that we have smartphones and television, who's going to write? Who's going to read? And it was said that books will, and then Kindle came out. And they said books will go out of fashion. No one will read. That hasn't happened. It's been 25 years. It hasn't happened since I left school, right? It's not going to happen. The written word is powerful enough to influence us in many ways that it's not going to happen. Words are going to be around with us. Have you ever heard Trump's speech? No? That is very entertaining. You're missing out on something. He uses a lot of literary devices. He uses a lot of figures of speech. Also because he has many powerful speech writers working for him who know how to use language and words to effect, who are able to influence people who listen to his speeches. First one, figures of speech, departure from the ordinary form of expression. When I say the leaves are dancing, it's not normal language, na? It is departure from what we converse every day. Figures of speech produce a greater effect. This is what is important, that they are there to produce an effect, a memorable effect or a visual effect. Figures of speech may be classified as, this is not important, the classification, it's just to help you remember them. What is more important is to understand. I think number one, most of you know, simile, metaphor, personification, apostrophe, you may not know. So quickly first, simile. Simile is an open comparison, as sly as a fox, as sleepy as a log. The righteous shall flourish as the palm tree. This is a famous saying. As or like are often used in similes because similes are explicit comparisons. You're explicitly comparing one thing to another. But metaphors, quickly read the examples. They're in your books as well. The same thing. Words are like leaves. So shines a good deed. Please note, it's not like and as, but it is so. So is also used for comparison at times. For example, this one, right? Mad as a March hare, proud as a peacock, bold as brass, tough as leather, clear as crystal. Clear as crystal means very easy to understand. As good as gold, as old as the hills, as cool as cucumber. Who is described as cool as a cucumber? You've forgotten Dhoni so soon. Captain Cool is always compared to this simile. बस अब सब भूल जाएंगे उसको धीरे धीरे, है ना? Metaphor. Metaphor is a more compact form of simile. How many of you have heard this? I'm sure you heard this. Camel is the ship of the desert. I think class 3 से लेके class 10 तक ये simile हर साल revise होती है. Only thing is it is not a simile. It is a metaphor. What is the difference? आप आए, हल्ला चालू हो गया. Not aura, distraction. You're not helping them. This is a very important chapter. You've missed out the first few minutes. Please catch up. I don't know how to do it. You can do it. Take the remote. I have no idea how to do it. I really struggle with these things. Maybe. So metaphor is an implied comparison, which makes it more compact. As I was saying, camel is the ship of the desert. Camel is the ship of the desert. 7 words. Now I'm going to change this to a simile, and you'll see how much more space it takes. A camel takes cargo and passengers across the desert like the ship does across the ocean. I've lost count. That is the difference between a simile and a metaphor, which is why poets prefer using metaphors. The burden is on the readers to decode the metaphor. वो तुम समझो कि when I say Rana Pratap was a lion in the battlefield, so obviously Rana Pratap is being compared to a lion instead of saying he was as brave as a lion, which is an expanded expression. So metaphors are compact expressions, right? And they're an implied, not explicit. It takes for granted and proceeds as if the two things were one. Thus, when we say he fought like a lion and he was a lion, it's a metaphor. Both of you leave. Let's make this quick. Out. No, out. Please ask your friend to sit straight. And I have very little patience. If no one wants to study, you are free to leave. It's fine. Life is a dream. News was a dagger to his heart. A dagger is a knife. So you're comparing the pain of the news to the pain of a knife. Revenge is a kind of wild justice. I'll give you a clue to identify metaphors. Is, was, is. They don't use the word like, as, so. They'll straight away say was. If music be the food of love, play on. This is from Shakespeare. He's saying music is the food of love, straight away. Instead of is, they've used be. If music be the food of love. Every simile can be compressed into a metaphor. Every metaphor can be expanded into a simile. I've explained this. Quickly read this example. It'll get clearer. Okay. Variety is the spice of life is a metaphor. Instead of that, we say, as spice flavors food, variety makes life more pleasant. But this decoding you have to do in this metaphor. Mixed metaphor. They've given you what is a mixed metaphor. I smell a rat. I see it floating in the air. I will nip it in the bud. There are too many ideas and it is confusing. They call it a mixed metaphor. Just good to know. Personification. Now, personification, there are many more that you have which are related to this. So pay attention. The basic concept is important. Personification is when we give human attributes to non-living things. For example, I say the hands of the clock are moving very slowly. I'm assuming that is a human being. I'm saying it has hands, right? The expression must have began in that way. The leaves are waving. The trees are waving goodbye to me. I'm assuming the tree is a human being. The sun was beaming. You must have heard this expression. The sun was smiling. The sun was beaming. Again, personification. But even animals can be personified, right? My dog loves to chat with me. He's not literally chatting, but you're assuming he's your friend. He's a person. Disney movies, Stuart Little, all these cars, the movie cars. All this is animation uses a lot of personification. There's another word for personification. I don't know whether it's given over here. Write it down. It's anthropomorphism. Anthropomorphism is a more complete form of personification. It might come in one of the options. I want you to know. A-N-T-H-R-O, A-N-T-H-R-O, P-O-M-O-R, P-H-I-S-M, anthropo. I'll repeat. There are three parts of the word. Anthropomorphism. A-N-T-H-R-O-P-O. Anthropo. Morph, M-O-R-P-H-I-S-M. Anthropomorphism. There is a difference. So personification is a more casual form. When I'm saying the trees waved goodbye to me and I leave it at that, that is personification. But what you see in Disney movies, for example, Ratatouille, the mouse is cooking, it's a rat, sorry. The rat is cooking and he's behaving like a proper human being from top to toe. That is anthropomorphism. So there is a slight difference. There may or may not be a question on this, I'm not sure, but I just wanted you to know because it's just so easy, right? They will not give you personification and anthropomorphism in the same option. That's very, very unlikely. But just understand that anthropomorphism is a more complete form of personification. So Death lays his icy hand on kings. This is from a poem where death is being personified. Icy hand is the clue. Death does not have a hand. But here you're assuming that death has a hand. So it is personification. Pride goes forth on horseback. Pride is riding a horse. That means pride is a human being. You're assuming that pride is a human being. Apostrophe. There's a movie in which Shah Rukh Khan talks to a statue of a horse. I think it is DDLJ, where he refers to the horse and he talks to the horse. That is apostrophe. Apostrophe, when there's a lot of corruption in the country, some people will say, oh, I'm so glad Mahatma Gandhi is not alive to see this. He'd be turning in his grave. So I'm talking to, if I address Mahatma Gandhi, have you seen Munna Bhai, the second part? Yes. He speaks to Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi is dead. If he's speaking to a dead person, that is an apostrophe. Simple to remember. You learn one example, right? So speaking to the dead or someone who's not there anymore, or to a personified object. So Shah Rukh Khan talking to a horse or a statue, or if you're speaking to death, right? That is all an apostrophe. Okay, it's a special form of personification. Oh friend, I know not which way I must look for comfort. I'm talking to the waves in the second one. Ocean roll. Roll on, ocean roll. Oh death, where is thy sting? So you're talking to death, you're talking to liberty, you're talking to solitude. Solitude is to stay alone. Hyperbole. Hyperbole में तुम लोग expert हो. मर गए homework से. बहुत ज़्यादा homework है, मर गए. है ना? ये homework तो मार डाला. What is that? Hyperbole. My dad is going to kill me if he finds out. Hyperbole. We use hyperbole day in and day out. Right? So hyperbole is, you can write down there, exaggeration. E-X-A-G-G-E-R-A-T-I-O-N. Exaggeration. When you're exaggerating something for effect. Now you'll notice sometimes in speeches when someone is trying to make a point very assertively, then also we use a little bit of exaggeration. Because unless you make that exaggeration, that point is not going to land with the people who are listening to the speech. So sometimes hyperbole is used deliberately. Euphemism. Euphemism is when you are making write down a harsh idea being called by an agreeable name. A harsh idea. Disagreeable thing means a harsh idea. For example, every language that I know of has a euphemism for death. In English, we say he passed away. In Hindi, we say wo guzar gaya. We don't say mar gaya. We say guzar gaya. No, we want to soften the impact. If you have a cat and the cat is terminally unwell, sometimes we have to take it to the doctor and put it to sleep. Hamesha ke liye so gaya. Every language wants to soften death because death is so harsh, right? So when you're trying to soften an idea, that is a euphemism. You remember one example per literary device. Learn one example for every literary device and learn it properly, and you're done. Then you can just match the options. He has fallen asleep. You are telling me a fairy tale. That's an entertaining one, meaning a lie. Antithesis. Okay, antithesis. Before antithesis, is there parallelism? Irony, sarcasm, metonymy, synecdoche. नहीं है ना? ठीक है, तो फिर वहीं पर एंटीथेसिस के पास लिखो पैरेललिज्म. Okay, so antithesis is something that speech givers, orators have been using for a long time. All of you know about Netaji? Who's Netaji? Subhash Chandra Bose. Do you know how his speech? He gave us very famous speech. What was the punchline that he used? हाँ. Antithesis. तुम मुझे खून दो, मैं तुम्हें आजादी दूंगा. Give, take. This is the basic concept of antithesis, but not to be confused with other expressions. So antithesis, please write this down. It can get confusing, identifying an antithesis. Write down two parallel phrases presenting contrasting ideas. Two parallel phrases presenting contrasting ideas. Okay. Who was the first man on moon? Neil Armstrong. What were his first words? One small step, write it down. One small step for man, but a huge leap for mankind. Again, antithesis. It's a contrast, na? That it's one small step for man, but a huge leap for mankind, all of mankind. So all these are, speech is silver, silence is golden. Likho, I'm giving you a couple of examples. Speech is silver, silence is golden. Speech is silver, meaning speech is good, but silence is even better. So speech is silver, silence is golden. Okay. If you've heard of JF Kennedy, have you heard of this? The president, ex-president of USA. He once gave a very famous speech and he said, ask not what the country can do for you. Ask not what the country can do for you. Ask what you can do for the country. Understood? So write down, ask not what the country can do for you. Ask what you can do for the country. The flip ho gaya na? Contrast. But this has to be in two parallel phrases. What do I mean by parallel? Construction. Idea nahi, construction, because एक rhythm होना चाहिए. Speech is silver, silence is golden. तुम मुझे खून दो, मैं तुम्हें आजादी दूंगा. So four words. ये एक parallel sound होना चाहिए. Because antitheses are very often used in speeches. And as you know, in speech, there needs to be a rhythm. So when you're speaking, it has to sound good. It has to land and it has to be memorable. Because people are going to repeat that punchline. It's like an advertisement. Jingles also use antithesis, right? Because they are memorable, right? See, man proposes, God disposes. You must have heard of this. It's so famous. Not that I loved Caesar less, but that I loved Rome more. This is from Julius Caesar. To err means to make a mistake. To err is human. To forgive is divine. Oxymoron. Now, oxymoron is, this is where the confusion begins. But understand, oxymoron is two words, not two phrases. Oxymoron is two words, or maybe three words. It will be very short. It won't be two phrases. So can you see? Honor, dishonor. There aren't two phrases over here. They're just two words. Honor, dishonor. Kind, cruelty. Faith, unfaithful. Innocent, so cunningly simple. Cunningly simple, right? So this is an oxymoron. Oxymoron are two words which are opposite in meaning. They are used, example, living dead. Have you heard of living dead? Walking Dead. Walking Dead was a movie. Same thing. Walking Dead is also an oxymoron because dead cannot walk. If they're walking dead, then they're ghosts or they're zombies, which is very interesting, and you'll go and watch the movie. So bittersweet. Bittersweet describes the dark chocolate. It is bitter and sweet at the same time. Why is this called kind cruelty of the surgeon's knife? Because the surgeon has to be cruel in order to be kind. He's saving someone's life, but he has to cut and be cruel. So kind cruelty. फर्क समझ में आया antithesis and oxymoron में? Because whenever they will give you either of the two, they'll give you both the options. And some people will make a mistake. Oxymoron. Right? Now you'll understand. If you understand that antithesis are two phrases and oxymoron are primarily two words. Paradox. Paradox means the statement that appears to contradict itself. Just underline this part. Statement that appears to contradict itself. Okay. Now, oxymoron is a shorter form of a paradox. When I'm saying the living dead, that is also paradoxical. Paradox matlab kya hota hai? Paradox matlab hota hai contradiction. I'll give you a paradoxical situation. Not suppose, it is true. Our warehouses are full of grain. Yes, the government warehouses, they're full of grain. And yet there are poor people in this country who are dying of hunger. True or not? This is true, right? ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है? When we have so much food that we have surplus, we are even exporting food grain, and yet the poor are dying of hunger. Of course, there is a way to explain this contradictory situation. Let's not go into that. But this is paradox. Paradox is a broad sense, a broad term. Paradox means contradiction. Anything that is an unresolved contradiction is a paradox. A paradox there are specific expressions that express that paradox. For example, kind cruelty. Kind cruelty is also paradox. That the surgeon is being kind and cruel at the same time. But there are two words, hence, if you get the two options, paradox and oxymoron, what will you select? Oxymoron. Because that is more specific. Got it? You will not select antithesis. So a really tough test will give you 4 options. Oxymoron, paradox, antithesis, and maybe hyperbole. If you don't know that, I hope so. Who can say? But now I've made it easy for you. If you really understand, it's not difficult. Paradox is the broad category. Is a very broad category. Paradox is used for case scenarios. जब आपके group discussions दिए जाते हैं, तभी भी दिए जाते हैं paradoxical situations. Paradox is a very broad term. It means any kind of contradiction. And उसी के subset समझो, हाँ. Paradox is not necessarily the opposite. Yes, paradox is not necessarily opposites. Absolutely. What I described, that wasn't an opposite. It was just an ironical situation. But in case of oxymoron is more about opposites. Yes, you will generally see opposites together. That's true. Okay. You can see these sentences. Some of the biggest failures I ever had were success. So this is obviously a contradictory situation. The swiftest traveler is he that goes afoot. Afoot means walking. If you wish to preserve your secret, wrap it up in frankness. So paradoxes have always been used to add interest to language. For example, the first sentence has a very thought-provoking effect. You start thinking about this sentence. How can success be failure? How can success be failure? Who can tell me? How can success be failure? Nahin. How can success be failure? That's what the sentence is saying. Some of the biggest failures I had were successes. My cousin, हाँ बताओ. बहुत जल्दी जब सक्सेस मिलता है ना, उसको बिगिनर्स लक भी बोलते हैं. बहुत जल्दी जब सक्सेस मिलता है, तो you miss out on many real life lessons. You got lucky. Like my cousin, he made this during the COVID times. He created this e-commerce company, online content. And at that time, you know how online content went through the roofs, right? And he got beginner's luck. He minted money. I'm talking about crores over here. He minted money, got beginner's luck. COVID went out and whoop, he went down. Beginner's luck. And he didn't know what hit him. He got lucky in the beginning and he missed out on the lessons you learn when you get success after a couple of failures. So that is a classic case of success being a failure. Because success should be long term, na? Not short term. But आप एक बार beginner's luck मिलके बहुत पैसा कमा लिया और उसके बाद you've not learned the lessons. You got lucky. So that is an example. So this is possible. An epigram. Epigram is a brief, pointed saying frequently introducing antithetical ideas which excite, surprise, and arrest attention. It's basically a saying. Please underline this word. If you get confused, that is this an antithesis or is this a saying? If it's a proverb, if it's a saying, like child is the father of the man, that's a proverb, that's a muhavra. Then it is an epigram. Okay? So underline epigram, underline saying. This word is the most important over here. A saying introducing antithetical ideas. If they're antithetical, obviously they will surprise, because antithesis is meant to surprise. That is understood. A man can't be too careful in the choice of his enemies. Fools rush in where angels fear to tread. This is a very often quoted saying. Irony. Please write down opposite of what is expected. Write down over here. Opposite of what is expected. And I'll explain. End of Three Idiots. This is my favorite movie, as you must have guessed by now. End of Three Idiots. No one guessed that Amir Khan is Phunksuk Wangde, the famous scientist. Unexpected ending, and it became a huge blockbuster because no one everyone thought he's a headmaster of a school because that was what was depicted. The ending was not revealed right till the end. That is an irony. There are more common ironies that we face every day. For example, Drishyam, the movie Drishyam. Where was the dead body buried? Biggest irony of all. पुलिस पूरे शहर में ढूंढ रही है और उसके कदमों के तले दबा हुआ है. That is an irony. Unexpected. Nobody was expecting it, least of all the police. So they did not hide, they did not find over there, right? That is an irony. Some easy ones when we teach children what are ironical situations. We say there was a theft that occurred at the policeman's house. है ना? Policeman के घर में चोरी हो गई. Irony. But there are more subtle ones like verbal irony. What is verbal irony? Sarcasm. When I'm saying the opposite of what I want to say. Again, opposite of what is expected, opposite of what I want to say. That is sarcasm, verbal irony. Another kind of irony is dramatic irony. You don't need to learn the types of ironies. I'm just giving you examples so that in case you have a question, you can identify it as irony. आपके syllabus में सिर्फ irony है, ये technical terms नहीं है, right? Another ironical situation is in the movie, we know that the boy is pretending to be dead. He's not actually dead. The audience knows. This is Romeo and Juliet. Romeo lay on the stage, it was a play, and Romeo lay on the stage as if dead. But the audience knows that he's just had a potion and he's, oh, it's not, whatever, it doesn't matter. So Romeo is lying on the stage pretending to be dead, and then Juliet comes on scene, and Juliet thinks he's dead, but we know he's not. And she takes real poison and she dies. And when he gets up, he says, oh, she's dead. So he actually takes poison and he dies. Tragic ending. So the audience wants to go and stop Juliet and say, no, 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 he's not dead. Don't take poison. But you can't do that. That is the irony that we know and the people in the play don't know. Again, opposite of what is expected, right? So suppose you get this situation described. So you know this is irony and you get 4 options. No doubt, but ye are the people and wisdom shall die with you. What is the meaning of wisdom shall die with you? Meaning it's not being passed on. The wisdom is not being passed on. You will die and the wisdom will die with you. The atrocious crime of being a young man. Please read this paragraph, these 2 lines. Read it and tell me what is the irony in this, in these 2 sentences. Who can explain? Batao. Aap batao. Read and tell me what is the irony in these 2 sentences. What is the meaning of atrocious? Atrocious means very bad. Very bad. So atrocious crime of being a young man. Why is this ironical? Who can tell me what is the irony? This has been given as an example of irony. Last bench. Aap batao. Why is your laptop open? SOP यहाँ नहीं करो. SOP next classroom में करने का होता है. Yes, get up, get up. Oh, shift. Yes, second bench. Constantly talking. Blue shirt. Batao. In case you forgot you wore blue today. Bolo. What is ironical in this statement? That's what I'm asking. ऐसे sentences आएंगे आपको identify करना है. Can't commit crimes when you're young. नहीं.
The juvenile man has charged upon the young child and he is considering being young as a crime.
Ah, how is being young a crime? That is the irony. The man has, correct, absolutely right. The honorable gentleman has charged upon me the crime of being young. Being young is a crime. That is the irony. Correct. That the gentleman has charged me with the crime of being young. इसमें crime क्या है? Right? That is the irony. This is allied to irony, meaning this is verbal. You can write down verbal irony over here. We Christians have just enough religion to make us hate, but not enough to make us love each other. Do you understand the irony in this sentence? This sentence says that we Christians have enough religion to make us hate, but not enough to make us love. The intent of religion is that everyone should love each other. Opposite is happening over here. Irony. God made him and therefore let him pass for a man. If God made him then obviously he's a man. If he's saying and let him pass for a man, means chalo theek hai, tum insaan ho. That is ironical. When Bhagwan ne banaya to insaan hi to hai. So why let him pass for a man? That means he was barely human. That means in this line, this man is being criticized. That he's not actually human. He's just barely human. So he's being criticized. Sarcasm is often criticism because sarcasm is used to criticize. Pun. Is life worth living? It depends on the liver. दो तरह के liver है. एक जो आपका अपने अंदर है, the organ, and liver is the जीने वाला, जो life को जी रहा है, the liver, right? So can you see they are playing on the word? The word is being used in two senses. One of my very talented students, he wrote an essay about Python, you know, and he said this was the, you know, the Python, the programming language. And he titled it, "This Python does not B-Y-T-E." So this Python does not bite. There were two puns in that title. One Python stood for the language and snake, Python. The second word, bite, B-I-T-E and B-Y-T-E, you know, as gigabyte and megabyte. So this Python does not bite. Two puns. So very often you'll see puns used in titles, in movie names, in all these names, because you want to make it memorable. You don't forget it easily. An ambassador is an honest man, and look at the irony. An ambassador is an honest man who lies abroad for the good of his country. Lies abroad has two meanings. बाहर जाके झूठ बोलता है और बाहर जाके रहता है. So he lies abroad for the good of his country. Yes, that's entertaining. Okay, metonymy. Metonymy, synecdoche. पढ़ो पहले, and then I'll explain. Recently in the newspapers we read, the White House has decided to apply tariffs, increase the tariffs on all the other countries. The White House. Everyone understood that that meant the US government. So can you see that the White House is an object that represents the government? This is metonymy. Okay. Can you see, underline this one, the crown for the king or the queen. For instance, the England, it was called the crown. The crown has decided, these are the crown jewels. You know the crown jewels? हमसे लूट गए हमारे jewelry, हमारे jewels, and they became the crown jewels belonging to the Queen of England. It's still called the crown jewels. हमसे $20 लेते हैं हमारी चीज हमें दिखाने के लिए. You've ever gone to the UK? You had a question. Yes. जैसे न्यूज़पेपर्स में बहुत यूज होता है. The North Block. What is the North Block? Finance Ministry. So Nirmala Sitharaman is often referred to as North Block because North Block में Finance Ministry is located. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about the White House representing the US government, talking about the North Block representing the Finance Ministry of India. A very simple example is, write down, the pen is mightier than the sword. Likho. You must have heard of this. The pen is mightier than the sword. What does the pen represent? Pen, likho pehle, pen is mightier than the sword. And underline pen, below pen, write down author, writer. The pen is mightier than the sword. The pen represents the writer. the author, and the sword represents the soldier. So can you see the article is representing the person? Crown, Queen, White House, US government, right? Pen, writer, sword, soldier. Okay, but this is not to be confused with the next one. Next one is completely different. अब इस वाले को साइड में रखो. Now listen to synecdoche, the next one. Synecdoche is, just look at this one. He has many mouths to feed, many dependents. Maybe this person has many children, many people depending on him, right? So mouth is the part of the whole. Mouth is a part of the whole body. When a part of the body is used to represent the whole person, that is a synecdoche. Write down more examples. All hands on the deck. All hands on the deck. D-E-C-K, deck. Yes, all hands on the deck. Hands meaning hands of the sailors. On the deck meaning deck of the ship. Then all boots on the ground. Next example, all boots on the ground. Boots is shoes, part of the soldier. So instead of saying soldiers to the ground, you're saying all boots on the ground. If you've bought a new car and someone appreciates it, he might say, what is being discussed? If I say nice wheels, that's all. W-H-E-E-L-S, wheels. I'm talking about the entire car, though I'm referring to only one part of the car. That is also synecdoche, right? Is this clear? Don't confuse the two. Metonymy is an article representing a person. Synecdoche is part representing the whole. Now, another form of synecdoche is, quickly look at all the examples. I'm giving you 2 minutes, read them. Now, the reverse is also done. Whole used to represent the part. England won the first test match against Australia. England is the whole of the country. What does it represent over here? The particular team. So this is also synecdoche. Part to whole or whole to part. Clear? When you practice, you'll get a better hang of it. Transferred epithet. Transferred epithet is, just underline this one. He passed a sleepless night. What does this mean? Is the night sleepless or is he sleepless? He is sleepless. Then why is the night being described as sleepless? Because the author is trying to emphasize. इसे हिंदी में भी पोएम्स में बोलते हैं कि पूरी रात मेरे साथ जग रही थी. मैं भी जग रहा था, रात भी जग रही थी. रात थोड़ी जग रही थी, रात तो वही कर रहा था जो करता है. But you feel as if the night is sleepless along with me. Because human beings tend to project their emotions on things around them. If I am tired, the road appears to be tired. The weary road, write down an example. The weary road, W-E-A-R-Y. The weary road stretched out before his eyes. The weary road stretched out before his eyes. The road is not weary. He is tired. He is weary. Right? So this is an example of transferred epithet. Epithet matlab hota hai term. Transferred means transferred from one place to another. It's deliberately in the wrong place to highlight the idea. He passed a sleepless night. The plowman homeward plods his weary way. A lackey presented an obsequious cup of coffee. ना complicated नहीं, तुम easy learn करो, 1 and 2 learn करो, ये याद ही नहीं रहेगा. Okay, litote. अच्छा, ऐसा कभी तुम लोग के साथ हुआ है, तुमने बहुत अच्छा काम किया, घर गए, पापा को बताया कि पापा, today I did very well in school. You know, I came second in the debate competition on elocution, something you won, or maybe in some sports you came second in the race and you came and shared it with your dad. But dads have this thing about sons especially. For girls, they're all praises. But for boys, they have this thing, yeah, not bad. बुरा नहीं है. अच्छा नहीं है नहीं बोलेंगे. अच्छा कभी नहीं बोलेंगे. लड़कों के लिए तो अच्छा नहीं ही बोलेंगे. है ना? They will say, हाँ, बुरा नहीं है. अगली बार फर्स्ट आना. मतलब खुल के तो कभी बड़ाई होती नहीं है. They will always say, not bad. बुरा नहीं है. बुरा नहीं है. तो बुरा प्लस नहीं इज इक्वल टू अच्छा. वो तुम समझो, मैंने बड़ाई ही तो किया. लेकिन खुल के बड़ाई नहीं किया. It's an understatement. Litote is an understatement. You negate the opposite. Not bad. Bad is opposite of good. Opposite of the negation of the opposite. It creates an understatement. Just as hyperbole is an overstatement, litote is an understatement. Okay. So look at this. I am a citizen of no mean city. The man is no fool. That means he is very clever. Instead of saying he is very clever, you're saying he is not a fool. He is very clever. Like this has been said for Trump a lot. Trump pagal nahi hai. And now we know why he was doing all that, right? पागल नहीं है, वो बहुत होशियार है. So पागल नहीं है. Litote. I am not a little surprised, which means I am greatly surprised. Opposite and negative. Interrogation, all of you know. I'm wrapping this up. We'll do the exercise now. Interrogation, all of you know. Please read this. ये क्या है? Rhetorical question. I've done this with you in class earlier. Who can tell me what is a rhetorical question? Not expected to be answered. The answer is either hidden in the question or the author will ask the question and immediately answer it, right? For example, a rhetorical question would be, isn't it a lovely day today? That's a very simple rhetorical question. Obviously, the answer is yes. But a way to use rhetorical question in speeches to make speeches more interesting is, do you want to leave a depleted planet for your children? Do you want to damage the environment so much that you leave a depleted planet for your children? So what are you implying? You're actually criticizing the people. If I say, you know, we all of us know that sugar is bad for our body. And yet a lot of these Kellogg's and all these companies, they promote sugar-laden cereal. Chocos, है ना, बच्चे सब खाते हैं चौकोस. सुबह सुबह उठ के पहले ब्रश करते हैं और फिर चौकोस खाते हैं और फिर चौकोस दांत में चिपक के पूरे दिन स्कूल में. कितनी मजेदार बात है. So why do these companies do that? Rhetorical question. Why do companies sell sugar-laden? Excuse me, madam, can you please leave? You can leave. Why do breakfast cereal companies heavily load their cereal with sugar? I'll tell you why. Because they care about profits, not about your health. This is another way rhetorical questions can be used, where the author asks the question and immediately replies to it. So two ways. Am I my brother's keeper? Who is here so vile that will not love his country? Exclamation. This is easy. Whenever, but see, exclamation, what you need to understand, some people just blindly look for the exclamation mark. But that's not the only way to do it. Think of the sentence construction. If I say, it is a lovely day, it's a statement. If I'm using a rhetorical question, I'll say, isn't it a lovely day? Question mark. That's a rhetorical question, what we just did. And now if I change that to an exclamatory sentence, I'll say, what a lovely day it is. This is exclamatory sentence because the sentence construction is different. I'm not saying, what is your name? I'm saying, what a lovely day it is. So that is exclamation. exclamatory sentence, right? What a piece of work is man. How sweet, my God, is a miss. How sweet the moonlight sleeps upon this bank. Repetition. Repetition is very easy if you have the right example. Now look at the second one. Alone on a wide sea. Alone, alone, all alone on a wide, wide sea. Repetition is for emphasis. Repetition is also to add rhythm. How many of you read the poem Highwayman? No. Highwayman is about a robber who comes on the highway. He comes riding on a horse. You want to leave. Beautiful description describing the highwayman. And then the poet says, the highwayman came riding, riding, riding. The highwayman came riding up to the old inn door. And it sounds as if he's galloping. Riding, 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 riding. So it sounds like tak bak, aa raha hai. Repetition is for rhythm. Repetition is to help you remember an idea. Repetition is to emphasize a certain idea. Okay. So here this man is emphasizing that he is marooned in the ocean. He's all alone. And the sea appears to be so, so big on a wide, wide sea. Easy to identify because you just see the word repeated. Climax. Write down an example over here. Write down, I came, I saw, I conquered. The Latin expression is vini, vidi, vici. I came, I saw, I conquered. Can you see the stepwise formation? It's going up. Wo aaya, he saw, and he conquered. This is climax. Huh? Stepwise, not only flow, it has to go up. It has to go up. The action gets more and more intense, right? So that is climax, a ladder. Series of ideas in the order of increasing importance. Anticlimax. Anticlimax is opposite. Sudden descent from higher to lower. There was a very entertaining example where it said that man began at the height of his career as a manager, and then he became an assistant, and then he lost his job. This is anticlimax. है ना? He started at a very high position, और फिर धीरे 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 खत्म हो गया. एक ही स्टेटमेंट. हाँ हाँ, बट दिखेगा अलग अलग. मतलब आपको एक ही सेंटेंस में दो चीज नहीं आएंगे बिकॉज 4 ऑप्शंस हैं. They will not want to confuse you. They'll either give you climax or they'll give you anticlimax. You have to identify. See, great god of war, Lieutenant Colonel to the Earl of Mar. If you know these designations, he's going down in his ranking. Onomatopoeia. This I think everyone is familiar with. Sound words. And a boom, jingle bells, jingle all the way. What is that? Onomatopoeia. We've all heard of this, right? Because you heard the jingling of the bells. Cracked, growled, roared, howled. We zipped down the zip line. Onomatopoeia. And we hissed. He hissed his disapproval. Onomatopoeia. Alliteration. Alliteration is when the first sound of successive words are repeated. You've heard of these tongue twisters. Betty bought a bit of butter, but the butter was bitter, so she bought another butter to make the bitter butter better. B, 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 B. That is alliteration. Do you have consonants? Just flip and tell me. If you have consonants, I'll explain it at this time. नहीं है ना? Consonants, ठीक है. Alliteration is the sound of the letter is repeated in subsequent words. A common question is, ma'am, 2 times. What happened? Is there a problem? क्या हुआ? What? Is there a problem? Even if it is repeated 2 times, It is an alliteration. Write down a breakfast of berries. A breakfast of berries is an alliteration. If you see something repeated, the first letter or the first sound of subsequent words being repeated, it is an alliteration, right? Queen of cookery. लिखो तो इसको. Queen of cookery. I'm describing someone who's a very good cook. 2 बार में भी alliteration में यही बात समझा रही हूँ. This is a common misconception कि 3 तो होना ही चाहिए या बीच में ऑफ आ गया तो alliteration कैसे हुआ. नहीं, साउंड का इफेक्ट आना चाहिए. Queen of cookery, actually the first letter is not being repeated. Queen is Q, cookery is C, but it is an alliteration because the sound is repeated. Queen of cookery, it has the effect. ये question भी आ सकता है because it is not about the letter, it is about the sound. Understood? Tautology. Tautology is an expression that says the same thing twice in a different way. Actually, tautology का मतलब क्या है मालूम है? Unnecessary, redundant. Tautology is a mistake. If you say, ये तो general common sense है, that's a tautology. Because common sense general ही होता है. Why are you repeating the word general and common? Tautology का broader meaning ये है. But if you use tautology as a figure of speech, it means repeating the idea for effect. Here they are repeating the idea. Remember when 4G cell phones were a new innovation? Were a new innovation. Innovation is new. But here it is a literary device. It is a figure of speech. Author को भी पता है कि innovation ही new ही होता है, लेकिन वो जानबूझ के repeat क्यों कर रहा है? Because he wants to highlight the idea. This is for emphasis. Suppose you get this question and you can't find any other figure of speech, then you can choose tautology. Okay, so this is quite complex. They have so many. You have to learn this entire chapter and then you have to use it to in application, in identification. Identification is confusing. इसलिए concepts पे ध्यान दो. The evening sunset was beautiful. Sunset morning तो होता नहीं है, evening ही होता है. लेकिन जानबूझ के बोला गया है to highlight the idea. Cliche. Cliche is an overused expression. An expression first bench. An expression that is often used. So often used that it has become stale. सुन सुन के ऐसे boring हो गया है, right? Live and learn. Stay the course. What goes around comes around. These are all expressions that we have often heard. Now, what if you get 4 options for number 3? What goes around comes around. Proverb, tautology, cliche, hyperbole. How will you choose? What will you choose? Is it a tautology? It's not a tautology. Nothing extra, right? And is it a proverb? What is a proverb? A proverb is something that has a moral behind it. So that way it is a proverb. So they will not give you 2 correct options like I just did. For my question, proverb is also correct. Cliche is also correct. But suppose they do. Suppose it is some evil examiner who has set the paper and he gives you proverb as well as cliche. Then I will suggest you choose proverb and not cliche. Clear? Why? Because they are testing your knowledge of the language. They want to see whether you know that it is used as a proverb. So that is better use of your language rather than saying cliche. Okay? So if there's a choice between proverb and cliche and you know that this is a proverb, choose proverb or idiom. Right? It can also be called as an idiom. Okay? Now exercises. Quickly. Exercise 1 has how many questions? URL. First 25, start. I'll give you 5 minutes. 25 questions, 5 minutes. Start. Retort. Whenever you see no, na, negative, then there'll be 3 options. Either it's irony. हाँ इससे मतलब नहीं है. No common deliverer, no common foe. Acha, you're thinking of repetition. Yeah, it could be. Then I've been rescued by no common deliverer from the grasp of no common foe. But what jumps out at me that the 2 people are being praised, but they are being praised. The 2 people are being praised in an underhand way. No common deliverer is actually saying an uncommon deliverer. It's a unique, it's a great person. And no common foe, again, it's emphasizing that it's a very great foe, very great enemy. So the effect is stronger of a little than repetition, mere repetition. And always see, repetition is easier to identify. If you have a more difficult to identify literary speech, literary device, that is preferred naturally. हो गया till 25? Yes? कहाँ हुआ? कहाँ तक हुआ? बातें करोगे तो होगा नहीं. कहाँ तक पहुंचे? चलो quickly. You've done the first 10. First 10 done. Which one? 8. चलो करो. Okay, those of you online, Jyoti, Bhagya, Kriti, any doubts? You can ask me now. Acha, what is number 1? Everyone has done number 1. What is number 1? Huh? What is number 1? The more haste, the less speed. Why not antithesis? Why not antithesis? Answer diya hua hai epigram, I know. My question is, why not antithesis? Because it is a saying. Correct. Because it is a well-established saying. तो इस तरह से distinguish करना पड़ेगा. Because it is often quoted, it is often used. So it is a saying. It is not just a sentence used by a speech, an orator in his speech. It is a saying. Then it is an epigram. Okay, but that is close. It's hard to identify at times. Number 2. I must be taught my duty and by you. Irony, है ना, कि तुम मुझे सिखाओगे, मेरा काम क्या है? Plead sleep my cause and make her soft like thee. Plead, who are you pleading to? Sleep. Sleep is being spoken to. Sleep is an abstract idea, like death. So this is an apostrophe. 4. Charity suffereth long and is kind. Again, charity is being personified. Personification. 5. He makes no friend who never made a foe. Epigram. Correct. It's a saying. Epigram. He that planted the ear. But what is the difference between an epigram and a general idiom? Like honesty is the best policy. Is there an epigram? No. What is the difference? Epigram is a brief, pointed saying. There will be some element of irony in an epigram. Honesty is the best policy. There is no irony. But an epigram will have some irony, some apparent contradiction, some which makes it a pointed saying, right? Like child is the father of man. This is an epigram, not a mere idiom. Okay. He that planted the ear, shall he not hear? He that formed the eye, shall he not see? It's a question mark. It can be irony. It can be irony. Because you're saying that जिसने बनाया वही नहीं देख पाएगा, है ना? So there is irony in this, absolutely. Let not ambition mock their useful toil. Who is mocking? Ambition. Ambition is assumed to be a person who can mock, therefore personification. To gossip is a fault, to libel a crime, to slander a sin. Can you see this is, yes, this is climax. I don't know whether this may or may not come, but because we are doing this one, number 8, I want you to know of power of 3. In modern English, in contemporary English, there is also something called, write it down, tricolon. Add to the list of your literary devices. 27, mark it 27. Write down tricolon. Tricolon, tricolon. Tricolon, colon, tricolon. Okay. And write down power of 3. It's also known as power of 3. So some exams, some books identify this as a figure of speech when ideas are used in bunches of 3. Now, climax and इसमें फर्क क्या है? Climax, it will go up. But tricolon or power of 3 can stay at the same level. For example, reduce, reuse, recycle. Write it down. Of course, there is alliteration also, but it is also an idea in bunches of 3 that the way to save the planet is to reduce, reuse, recycle. So very often ideas are either 3 adjectives are used or 3 nouns are used together. That is called power of 3. अब हो सकता है कोई एग्जाम में ये आ जाए, tricolon, right? So now that you know, you can identify it. Okay, but this one, number 8, is climax. Why? Because it goes up from a smaller crime to a more serious crime. Gossip, libel, and slander. It goes up in intensity. Oh, what a noble mind is here overthrown. Number 9, exclamation. 10, excess of ceremony shows want of breeding. नहीं excess of ceremony का मतलब क्या है? I am an अग्रवाल, I am a मारवाड़ी, और हम लोग बहुत बदनाम है एक चीज के लिए. Our big fat weddings, too much ceremony, जिंदगी भर का खर्चा. I so agree with that. So what is this person saying? Excess of ceremony shows want of breeding. मतलब हम लोग का अपनी याद आ गई मुझे. That's so much pomp and so much celebration. It shows want of breeding, perhaps. सोचना पड़ेगा. Why all this toil? This is an epigram, a saying. Correct. Number 11. Why all this toil for triumphs of an hour? Interrogation. 12. Fools who came to scoff remained to pray. Can someone tell me why this is an antithesis and not an epigram? Why can't number 12 be an epigram? Is it a saying? It's not a saying. And what makes it an antithesis? Why not irony? They came to scoff. They stayed to pray. Scoff means to scorn. Pray means to admire. Irony भी है. तो आंसर irony क्यों नहीं है? Antithesis क्यों है? Please write down parallel construction of the phrases. Whenever you see parallel construction, you know it is antithesis. Whenever you see a rhythm, you know it is antithesis. When you speak it, you will know that there is parallelism. It is parallel construction. That makes it an antithesis. If it would have been rephrased, if I rephrase it, then it is not an antithesis. Then it is irony. Clear? 13. 13 is a litote. You asked me this question. No common deliverer, no common foe. That means both are unique in their own way. Both are being admired. Both are saying that neither was it a common deliverer. It was an uncommon deliverer, mean a unique person, a person with great abilities. And no common foe means a very special foe, a special enemy. Foe means enemy. The cup that cheers but not inebriates. Inebriates means nasha. When you're intoxicated, that is inebriated. What is being spoken about over here? The cup. The cup is a representation of something. That something is a bigger idea being represented by the cup. This is metonymy. The pen signifying the writer. The sword signifying the soldier. The cup signifying maybe a sporting cup, maybe a tournament cup. We don't know. We've just been given this sentence. But the cup that cheers and does not throw you into a state of intoxication. That is maybe a sports cup, maybe a tournament cup. So this is metonymy. You are a pretty fellow. Number 15. What is ironical in number 15? The answer is irony. Why is it irony? Fellows are not pretty. Fellows are not pretty. 16. I think oxymoron hona chahiye. Can you see? Hasten slowly. Hasten slowly. 2 words. Jaldi karo, धीरे से. है ना? We often say ना, छोटा पैकेज बड़ा धमाका. वही सब है. Hail, smiling morn. ये तो exclamation ही होगा. नहीं, smiling morn is personification. Morn represents morning. If morning is smiling, it is personification. And when you're speaking to someone personified, it is apostrophe. So can you see how I'm arriving at the answer? I can see smiling morning, personification. Hail, you're speaking to the smiling morning. It is apostrophe. Clear? Chalo, complete till 36. I will discuss 5 minutes more. I've been giving homework from the revision module. I hope you're doing it. You had a weekend and I think I'm expecting you covered the homework. I can take up doubts. Will you stop doing that in class? As you're solving them, you can ask the doubts. Do you have any doubts? "56. I want everyone to look at number 56. 56 is a tricky one. Can you read 56? पढ़ के बताओ 56. The soldier. Please go on, please go on. The soldier. What is a shilling? Shilling is the British form of pence, पैसा. हम जैसे पैसा कहते हैं वो उसे shilling बोलते हैं. So the soldier fights for glory and मिलता उसे क्या है? एक पैसा. A shilling a day. So what is this? Glory to shilling. Anticlimax. This is anticlimax. He is fighting for, I just said, जो हम पैसा बोलते हैं, rupees and पैसा, वो लोग pound and shilling. Shilling is the change form. So उसे मिलता क्या है? He is fighting for glory. Glory is huge. मिला क्या? पैसा. So that is anticlimax. Okay. And 55. 10,000 words is, sorry, 10,000 swords is hyperbole. 54 is an apostrophe. What is being addressed in 54? Solitude. You're talking to solitude. Complete this exercise and the next exercise is being given as homework. I'll take up the doubts tomorrow or day after. Okay? Bye. Online students, doubts? Any doubts? Unmute and ask me. Can you give me a pen?